Hello and welcome back to Mighty Metalman. My name is Chris Moore and I'm here with my friends Robert and Mark, and we're here to talk about power ballads. The thing that it's a hit or miss thing. Some people love them, some people hate them. We're going to talk about the ones that we love and even a few of them that we don't like so much. But first I want to dive in and I want to talk about what is our definition of a power ballad. I think a lot of people have different ideas of what a power ballad might be. And so I'm going to start with Robert and have him kind of define what he thinks a power ballad is. And we'll go around and talk about it, maybe give some examples, but then we'll talk about our top three.
I think the term is something that when people hear it, there's always something that comes to mind. But really trying to narrow that definition down can change. Is the power ballad really just a hard rock band doing a slower song? Can it be an arena band doing a ballad? Does it always have to be some kind of like soaring vocals? I don't know. I think, and does it have to be a rock band at all? I mean, Celine Dion and Barry Manilow, they have some serious power ballads, or even Air Supply, Making Love Out of Nothing at All. That is a serious power ballad if you take the time to listen to it. I think for me, it's almost like a Venn diagram where they overlap. And you have these different genres, maybe it is arena rock or a hard rock or a heavy metal band. And they just slow things down and they do something maybe a little bit different than they normally do. Do some bands have more than others? Of course they do. But usually it's going to be a little bit out of the ordinary, at least in my opinion, than what they usually do. And unfortunately, it became almost a formula that so many bands went to that I think it maybe made people not like them as much, and they weren't as special at some point as maybe they were early on.
I agree. Yeah, definitely agree on that. So my definition is like you said, a slower song. Usually, not always, more, can be acoustic based, but not always. But the lyrics usually have some romantic breakup or some really kind of dark lyrics and some sad lyrics. But within there, you have very good harmonies and you have clean vocals for the most part. And you always have a great guitar solo right in the middle, a guitar breakdown, then it comes back, and, it comes back to usually the chorus, and then usually does a fade out. And so it usually has those elements, and there sometimes it can be a little cookie cutter, like you were saying. Once everyone's caught on that, we can make money from slowing it down in between, some big rockers. And then usually people will it's a little more accessible to maybe people that weren't so much into that band, but they heard that song, they'd buy the album or the CD or the cassette at the time, and that would bring them into the fold with that band.
Well, it really became formulatic in the hair band genre, where bands in the late 80s, early 90s might put out the fast song first, and then the follow-up was always the ballad. Right. And it seemed so manipulative at times as, okay, this is done to draw in both demographics, male and female. I'm not saying that females wouldn't have liked the band anyway, but sometimes it just seemed as if that's what they were chasing.
Oh, no doubt about that. No doubt about that.
And who can blame that? More money, right? More albums sold, more people at the concerts.
I agree with you all. To some point, I'm more of if it's a power ballad, it has to have power in it. Ballad, of course, is a slower song. I think you had said more guitar. I need an oomph. Like I said, I need to have some oomph. And my ultimate power ballad, I think, has to have that guitar solo that not only is, every song has a guitar solo from our genre, but it has to contribute. It has to add feeling to the song. It's got to have a life of its own, I guess you could say. And there's a lot of love songs, and I like a lot of times I like the power ballads that aren't necessarily about love or breakups and stuff. Unfortunately, my top three doesn't say that. They're all I noticed they're all like love songs or broken heart songs. I'm like, well, I guess that's what it is. But yeah, so that's how I see it. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Robert, what is your top three?
My top three. I have Bruce Dickinson, big surprise, Tears of a Dragon. Maybe a risky choice here. I have Heart, Alone, and the Scorpions, Still Loving You. Bruce Dickinson, Tears of a Dragon is on his second solo album. It's the first album since he had officially left Iron Maiden. And it just contains all the elements you just described. It has time changes, it starts slow, it's got incredible solo, and the big bombastic vocals you would expect from Bruce Dickinson in the song. It also is lyrically interesting. There's some things that are very literal that you can picture when he's singing, but it also allows room for interpretation as well. But he does everything you would expect in it. But at this point, just leaving Maiden, he's still trying to figure out what he can do outside of that Maiden formula. And I think this does it because it's unlike anything Iron Maiden had ever recorded. And while Balls to Picasso probably isn't most people's favorite Bruce Dickinson album, this is the song he's probably his biggest solo song, I would think. Most people know that. My number 2, the one that I thought was a little risky, is Heart Alone. It's from the Bad Animals album. And I think sometimes when people get annoyed with power ballads, this one could be a little sappy, and it might have some of that people don't like because it starts off with a piano. And it starts off soft, and it sounds like one of those typical power ballads that maybe people don't like. But you have to hang around for it because Ann Wilson, she does what Ann Wilson can do. And at about the 50-second mark, she really takes it up a level. But she's not done. You get to the instrumental part, there is this real dramatic part in the middle with guitar solo and synthesizers. But at about the 2.5-minute mark, she comes back and takes this song to another level that many vocalists just don't have. And so next time you hear it, don't give up on it. I can understand why some people might turn that dial when they hear that slow piano in the beginning, or that might be, hey, let's go to the restroom at the concert. But don't give up on that song because it really is good. The interesting thing about it is that song too, is that it's actually a cover tune from a band called I-10 in the early 80s. And another fun fact, I guess, about it is that in 1984-85, John Stamos did a duet of that song with an actress for a short-lived TV series on CBS. And it was between his time on General Hospital and when he hit it big on Full House. And so a cover tune that's been done, a lot of people do this song when they're trying to really show off some vocals. You see it on American Idol some, but you better have it because it's a tough song.
So I really enjoy. I'm glad you picked that because I revisit it again. I've been on kind of a heart kick anyway, like the old stuff, and so I listen to this like, oh yeah, I forgot how great this song is.
It also is a time in the 80s where Hearts reinvented themselves. Exactly. And there's a lot of people that fall on both sides. I think they added a lot of great songs to their catalog, and I happen to like it. But I know there's some people that the 80s, their catalog in the 80s is really different from the 70s. And they're aiming towards the MTV crowd.
They progressed though. They grew.
Yeah. And they did it. They found a new audience. They stayed relevant. Yeah. And I get it that some people are purists and like, oh, it's just so different. I mean, If Looks Could Kill isn't Barracuda, even though those are, right. But they still have some great songs.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who prefer a lot of the 70s bands, 80s stuff more than the 70s stuff. And I know that's very unpopular, but that's when I grew up.
Well, that's why I said it was a risky choice.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will make some people give it a longer listen like you did. I love it that you said that.
It's a great song. Anytime that Ann Wilson hits that note, it's like it gives you goosebumps, makes your hair stand up on your arm.
There you go.
And what's your number 1?
I went with the Scorpions' Still Loving You from the Love at First Sting album. And I love this song. Interesting, I was reading about it, and Rudolf Schenker had pitched this to the band in the mid-'70s, and they thought it was too commercial, and they didn't think it fit to what they were doing. Now, at that time, the Scorpions weren't that popular in America, so it may not have been the hit it was if they had done it. So timing sometimes is everything. But I love this song because it's sort of a less is more concept, where a lot of these ballads tend to be overproduced with so much in them, whether it's the harmonies or just so much guitar synthesizers. I feel that it's less is more because to me, they isolate the vocal and the lead guitar so much from the rest of the song that you've got this haunting guitar and this beautiful vocal, and they're just so powerful intertwined together. And then you get to the point where the whole band kind of comes in. And so I just think it's a great song. They had done some slower work, but not necessarily known for that. I guess songs like Holiday and maybe a couple of others that they had done. But obviously a big hit. And if you remember the video, it was filmed at Reunion Arena in Dallas.
I did not know that.
And so if you go back and rewatch that, you'll see the outside of Reunion Arena. I know you guys aren't from Dallas. I don't know if you were here in time to ever experience Reunion Arena, but it was a wonderful concert venue. And sound was good in there, and just so many memories.
I've heard a lot of good things about it. Yeah, I missed it just by a couple of years.
And the sound in Reunion Arena is so much better than AAC. No hate, it's just a fact.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it's built for.
Yeah, when I think of the Scorpions, I think that's a good song, but also there's like "Send Me an Angel," and what was it? Then the big one was "Winds of Change."
Oh yeah.
I mean, and that's not a love song. That's like a political,
Okay, so my number 3 is November Rain by Guns N' Roses. I think they have all the elements there. I mean, they brought in the piano, which was, I mean, they hadn't used the piano on Appetite at all, and not through any of the other songs on Use Your Illusion. I think is probably one of Axl's best performances vocally. And again, it has that, the romantic breakup part in there, and so it's very. But the way he sings is, you can tell it's from the heart, and it's just, you can tell it's whatever those lyrics are means a lot to him, and really, and it's a kind of an unconventional power ballad where it's longer than most.
True.
I mean, it's close, I think, 8 minutes, and then, I mean, when the piano kind of starts going, you hear Slash just kicks up to another. That's probably one of my favorite Slash instrumentals or guitar solos.
Iconic solo.
Yeah, it's iconic. I mean, it's beautiful, and he shreds.
and that tone on that guitar.
Oh, the tone is amazing. Then when they go back out of it, and Axl picks it back up and kind of finishes out the song, it's just an amazing song, and you can't forget about the video.
That's right.
And especially with Slash, and the guitar, or the car goes over and he throws his guitar over the cliff. It's very, very. I guess I did like early '90s, but yeah, fantastic. So that's my number 3. Number 2 is "Fade to Black" by Metallica. Again, kind of unconventional, because I don't think a lot of people think of, especially with "Ride the Lightning," that as a power ballad, but it is. It was the first time that James had clean vocals. He held back the growls, and again, I mean, it's kind of a depressing song. It's about suicide. And I was reading up on it also. They had just lost like a bunch of equipment. They got stolen, and so that was kind of like his way of venting with that too. But again, it's like you have, once a guitar solo hits with Kirk, one of his best solos, they don't go back to James is saying, it just keeps on going and it fades out. And it's one of my favorite Metallica songs. Number 1, and to me, this song is iconic for what you think a power ballad is, which is "Alone Again" by Dokken, which I knew you'd like that. Yes. Again, it's really quintessential because it has all the elements. It has the slow build. It has the amazing solo by George Lynch. That thing again, he just kills it on that song. And Don's voice, he has that under control, where it's nice and slow, but then it hits those high marks too. And again, it's like, it's a little more sappy than the other ones I just mentioned. But to me, when I think of a power ballad that I like, it would definitely be.
I think it's a perfect song to pick. When we were looking at notes in production before we filmed today, I was jealous I didn't pick that. When I saw that, I was like, oh, I wish I had picked that. And I think too, at that time when it came out in the 80s, you had vocalists that were getting recognized at that time. Of course, there was Dio and there was Bruce and people, but Don Dokken, I think at some point in the 80s, was really regarded as maybe the best metal vocalist out there, or definitely one of the best.
Most definitely.
And I think that's why people are so sad to see, what's happening, but it is what it is. But It was just a wonderful song. I don't think that they compromised on it, even though, some people might think it's a little sappy. I think it fits what they do. I don't think they changed what they do. And everything you said about that, the vocal, the solo, it was a great, great power ballad.
Yeah, I thought about using Alone Again. The thing that kind of killed Alone Again for me to make my top three at least was that I used to listen to it a lot.
Oh.
And you know how songs, no matter how good they are, if you hear it a lot, it's not as, it doesn't give you the goosebumps as it used to.
Right.
But yeah, when George Lynch comes in with that guitar solo, when he goes, without you, it just, that is awesome. For number three, I went with Metallica as well, but I went with Nothing Else Matters. I thought this was a true ballad. I'd probably argue a little bit against Fade to Black, like you had said, because it gets really heavy, but with Nothing Else Matters, it kind of stays when it gets heavy, and then it comes back down, and then it kind of ends on sort of just a soft note. And it's just, I remember hearing that going, whoa, Metallica's doing a ballad. This is crazy. Right. But I mean, with the production and just everything, I wanted to use that as my wedding song, but we didn't have a wedding song. But I think it's my son is really laughing at me right now. But it's like, it doesn't matter what they say, it doesn't matter what they do. I mean, it's one of those things, it's like, we're together, we're in love. Doesn't matter what anyone else says, it's just about us too. Nothing else matters. I thought it was a real, and the guitars, just the crew, when he goes, da, 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 and that's when, your arm hairs stick up. I thought was really good. Number two, which kind of surprised me, but I remember going through some songs just to see what I was trying to be thorough and pick the best three songs. And what surprised me was Save Your Love by Great White. Great White's not one of those bands that's really been something I really listened to closely. I've seen them live once when they opened for Rat, long time in the 80s. And they were okay. I think that was the time when I went and got like tour merch or something for because it was like one of the first shows that Warrant played. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, Save Your Love, same thing. It's like it's really melodic, and it ramps up to that guitar solo. It must be about the guitar solo with me.
I think you're right.
Because it always ramps up to the guitar solo, and it's just killer. And then then Jack White, right? Is that his name, or who's Jack Russell? Jack Russell.
Yeah.
Jack Russell comes in, and his voice is just, you can feel the emotion. And that always kills me. And it's melodic. I mean, it's just got to be super melodic. And so my number one's kind of off the grid a little bit. It's I'll See You in My Dreams by Giant. I know when I talked to you, you weren't familiar with it.
I listened to it today.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I do remember that song. It's a really good song.
Yes. And anytime I hear it, I think that is the quintessential power ballad, because it starts really slow and it builds up, and then it builds up, and it builds up. And Dan Huff is the singer and the guitarist. He ends up later on in his career, he became a producer for like country music.
Really?
Yeah, and Giant's still going on, but without him, and which is kind of weird. I got their albums, but I haven't listened to them yet, so I'm gonna have to. But I'll See You in My Dreams, and then his guitar solo. I mean, anytime I hear it, my hair grows. It's like I got like a mullet on my arm with how much hair. It's like, it's just so awesome to hear. And then I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it. It is the quintessential power ballad for me.
I love that you use this example of the goosebumps and the hair stands up, because that happens to me all the time. Being somebody that goes to a lot of shows and so into music, that's when I know there's something really good, whether it's a certain note, or that's played on the guitar, or the feeling of a song, but especially when the vocalist can hit those notes just right, and you just have that, those goosebumps will pop up on you. And that's the great thing about music, is you have this emotional connection to it that you can't always control or regulate. It just happens because you feel it, and I like that. Giant was a band that was never really on my radar. So I had to look, and when I heard the song, listen to it, I remember I had heard the song quite a bit. It's just something that I didn't remember. And in fact, I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, that when I would hear that song a lot I guess it came out like 89 or 90 maybe. When I would hear it in the 90s, there was a period of time I always thought it was from the Foreigner album they did without Lou Gramm, or I thought it was a Lou Gramm solo. It just kind of has that song, that sound to it. And then I go back, it's like, no, that's Giant. And Giant was a band I just never followed. But every time I would hear their songs, it's like, oh, I'd really like to see these guys one day. But I just never did.
I was impressed. I was like, I've listened to it more than just like in passing. Like I heard back in the late '80s, early '90s. It's like, oh, I forgot this is a really good song. Just kind of, I think Giant's name just kind of left my radar. And so, but once I heard it, it's like, oh yeah, I've heard this, and it's like a very good song.
Okay, so we talked about our favorites. One of the things I asked you was to come up with your least favorite power ballad of all time, and I think this might be controversial. I think this is what people really gravitate to listen to. Is like, who are we going to slag? You know what I mean? And so to do that, I'm going to start with Robert.
All right. And I get it, because there's a lot of people that just don't like the power ballad, or you're so rock oriented that you don't want to slow things down. And so I hate to do this, and I don't want to offend anybody out there. I'm going to go with Def Leppard, Love Bites from Hysteria 1987. This is probably not popular. I'm in the minority here, but I am one of those Def Leppard people that it all sort of ended after Pyromania. I recognize the hits on Hysteria. I saw the tour. I know how everybody loves the album. It just didn't do it for me. And so that album itself, even though it's just mega huge, I didn't like it. And when I hear Love Bites, it's just too much. And so I put a couple of notes down here that were interesting, though. So Hysteria comes out in 87, and this song is released in 88. I mean, the album's so huge that they're still releasing singles a year later. And actually, it's the only Def Leppard song that goes #1 in America, ever, according to what I read. And there's a guy named Scott Bernstein, a writer for Hair Metal magazine or something. He said this is a classic of the genre. So I know that I'm in the minority here. The song is huge. People that love Def Leppard probably love it. But for me, it just doesn't work because Pyromania was, and the albums prior to that were just so hard. And they had such an edge. And I felt like Hysteria just doesn't have an edge to it. And so this, I thought the lyrics are a little corny for me. It just doesn't have that teeth or that bite. And I know power ballads are different, but I'm just thinking, these are the guys that did Died Hard, The Hunter.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
This was just too soft. And I've never been able to get into it.
And you're right. The lyrics are really, they're cheesy. And yeah.
When you make love, do you look in the mirror and things like that? It's like, it's a little too soft for me.
Yeah. I like the album, but I remember when I first heard the album, I was like, this isn't Pyromania. Yeah. And so, but I listened to it enough to where I enjoyed it. But Love Bites was always my least favorite. So totally get that. So my song that I dislike, there's a couple, but the one I'll go with today is When the Children Cry by White Lion. And I like White Lion, but that song is awful. I don't like his vocals. I mean, it's about child abuse. So that's like, it's like, really? I mean, so that kind of took me out of that whole, like, enjoying that song. It was so intense lyrically, and I was like, I mean, I kind of want my hair metal to be fun, at least have like some. I don't need that. So that was kind of a turn off for me on that song, and plus they played it so much on MTV, so much, and so it just kind of, yeah, that was probably my least favorite.
So I liked both those songs. And if you look at my definition, When the Children Cry wouldn't even be a power ballad; it would just be a ballad. So I'm turning you off on that one. No, because if you think, but I agree with you though. But with When the Children Cry, it is kind of it's a dark song. And it's kind of a boring song.
It's very boring.
Vito Bratta is a phenomenal guitarist, and he just plays like 6 notes for his guitar solo. Yeah. So already that's a strike for me for power ballad. Love Bites, I remember loving it when it came on. I can see why you don't like it, because if you've seen heard the first 3 or 4 albums, I can see how Love Bites would be like. What is this pop crap?
Song
Um,
bites.
The song bites.
Song bites, that's great.
So I think I got you both beat with the worst one though, and I'm going to go with "Without You" by Motley Crue. The song, I was listening to it yesterday, I think it was, and Mick Mars, when he starts playing, sounds like he's dying. When meow, meow, and it's like, holy cow, how slow and boring and dull. And then he starts singing, and I meant to print out the lyrics so I can just go over it. But the main chorus is, without you, a sailor lost at sea. Without you, woman, the world comes down on me. And he's doing like, I'm a wilted flower or something. He comes all these like cliches. And I would be impressed if this was a satire song. If this song was all satire. Makes me think of a satire song. Just made me think of was it Anthrax? What was the song? They did this whole like acoustic song, and it was a sad song and all that. I'm going, this is Anthrax, and then it finishes. She got hit by a train, and then the song is over. And I'm like, okay, that was satire. But Without You never had that punchline, so they were serious, and I was like, oh my gosh, if it weren't for Brandon, that would be the worst song Motley Crue had ever put together, as far as I'm concerned.
I forgot about Brandon.
Yeah. But the words, and then the music video, you literally had flower wilting in it, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was just the worst. I don't know what you guys think of that song, but it was just the cringiest, most boring, and I even hated it when it came out.
I almost picked that one as my least favorite. And I almost went with the Motley Crue ballad that's on the Girls, Girls, Girls album. The name slips me now. The only one time I ever wanted to hear Without You was when they toured in 2010 or whenever they did the 20th anniversary of Dr. Feelgood, and they played the album start to finish. I thought that was cool, and that was about the only time I wanted to hear the song. Any other time, that's break.
Yeah, that is definitely, especially on that album, my least favorite. I think there's other ones that maybe are worse as far as Motley Crue songs. We're going down that road, but like you said, Brandon. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't bother me as much as you guys. I mean, definitely not my favorite on that album. And it's of the whole power ballad era. That was probably definitely a weaker song. But I can listen to it and not have to turn it off.
Well, when we talked earlier, or in one of the earlier episode about the formula, I think on Theater of Pain, Home Sweet Home hits, and that almost becomes a template for a lot of bands that there had been ballads and power ballads, but that hit in such a way and it was so different from what they had done that I think a lot of bands really took a page from that. And it's almost Motley Crue trying to imitate themselves. We're going to do the same thing again, and I get it, a lot of bands do, but it obviously doesn't hit the same way Home Sweet Home does.
Right. And I did have I was torn between two. And so I'll give you my my other pick would have been Every Rose Has Its Thorn. That song has not held up. That is a stupid song. To me. I back in the day it was fine during that time, but it's like it has not grown with age for me. And it's just it's, and I know it's a huge seller, a lot of people like it, but listening to it again, it's like, not so much.
I think for me, I don't dislike that one in that way, but I get it. I do. I think I like Poison a lot, but they're just a fun band. I don't take them too seriously overall. It's a fun band and always a fun show. And I think that's why that song doesn't irritate me the way some other ballads do.
Yeah. And I at one point in time I liked it. I think it was like you talked before. It's like some songs just get worn out, so you don't want to hear it again, and that's one of them.
Yeah, Every Rose Has Its Thorn is kind of another kind of cliche lyrically. I remember when Bill and Ted used it to get into heaven, the lyrics. I don't know if you remember that. They had to come up with what was the secret to life, and every rose has its thorn, and they got into heaven. So, I mean, God liked it, I guess. But so it can't be that bad. And it was written in Dallas.
I was about to say that.
I did know that. That's right.
I do like that story he tells about writing it.
And he had just broken up with a girlfriend over the phone while he was at a laundromat in Dallas, right?
Yeah, that is a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
To highlight that song.
Well, I want to thank my friends Robert and Mark for helping me out and sort out what's a good power ballad, what's a bad power ballad. More importantly, I want to find out what you think. Can you tell us what power ballads did you like? What power ballads do you hate? Were we even remotely close to what the best power ballads are, or are we way off topic? Did you like Love Bites? Did you like Every Rose Has Its Thorn? Tell me you didn't like Without You. That's awful. So anyway, let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe while you're at it. Um, and as always, stay off those political channels. Take in some shows, listen to music. It'll do your heart a whole lot of good. And while you're at it, take care.